Welcome back to another episode of DIY, more or less. So today I've got my Toro mower out and we're going to do some maintenance. Actually, not just general end of season maintenance, but we're actually going to do a required repair. It's the pull cord. Seems like I have a little issue with pull cords this year. What has happened is the outer sleeve, didn't know that he's actually had an outer sleeve, but the outer sleeve of this tore and one of my pullouts, and then when it was going back into the housing, the outer layer was catching on the inlet there and bunching it up, so my cord doesn't go back in. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to try anyway. I've never done this before, so should be exciting. I don't think this is unique just to this. I think this should work with any this style pull mechanism on whatever mower that you have. Again, this is a commercial, but if you have a residential mower, it should work. I have the specs on this, which I will show you either there or there or there or somewhere. What the actual model is on this. The motor itself is a Kawasaki. It's 15 horsepower. This is one bad mower. There's not a lot that this doesn't go through. But anyways, again, shouldn't matter. As long as you have this mechanism at the top of your motor for starting, it should work. So let me get my tools. Let me get organized here, and then we'll get right to it. Okay, so we are ready to take this housing off. Couple notes. The branding or the logo for Kawasaki is facing the air filter. Is that important? Well, since the pull cord is coming out, you want to make sure that you just make a mental note. It's nothing important. You'll figure it out, but I just do this naturally when I take things apart because I want to remember how they go back together. I tried to take these out by hand using a smaller tool, and these things are on here good. So make a note of that when you reinstall this, to put some torque on it. So these will need a little extra leverage there, which this ratchet provides. And there we go. Good. And I'm not going to need that drill with the socket. That's probably more than I need for this little task. These are pretty small. I don't know if you can see that, but they're not real long. Yeah, so, all right. 3, we'll get that housing off the top. And housing off top. Okay, there we go. All right, pulls right up. Not a big deal there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put these screws so I don't lose them. I'm going to put them right back in the holes where they come from. So reassembly, I'm not searching for these screws. Okay, so here's the underside of that pull mechanism. So I'm going to take this to the shop, the workshop desk, and work on it there. So let's move over to the workshop. So, okay, here we are. We got the housing. I'm going to see what the bottom of that's looking like. Now, ideally, here's where the knot's at. Now, I realize this isn't all the way in, but I'm trying to figure out the length of cord to cut. All right. I can imagine this is going to be pretty tight, and you're going to need, I think this is, well, let me read this. A PH, this is a big Phillips. This is a big head Phillips. So this is a PH3. This is a big Phillips hole there. So it's come loose. Okay. Makes me nervous a little bit. This is probably all under tension. Whew. So I'm going to have to deal with that. All right, so I'm going to keep my left hand down on this mechanism here. So unfortunately, as with most of my videos, I was blessed with a little technical issue during this video, and in this case, my mic went dead. Fortunately, this section of video is primarily the disassembly of the cord spool from the outer metal housing. The pull cord was all jammed in the housing, which really has nothing to do with the process other than it was a pain in the rear. Had I the opportunity to do it again, and I'm sure I will, I'll approach the cord removal differently. However, that has nothing to do with this video. That's just a learning curve. In short, I'll zoom through this section until I get my audio back. So as an FYI, the Phillips head, which is kind of important, the Phillips head that holds the cord spool on was very tight. And it requires a larger, or at least mine required a larger Phillips head bit. So if I recall, that was a PH3 bit. As a matter of fact, I know it was a PH3 bit. And I strongly suggest you use the correct Phillips head that matches your screw head to prevent stripping out that head. Now, once you remove the Phillips screw, that will allow you to remove a metal plate. And that covers a small spring and a washer. Now, you'll also find under that metal plate 2 spring-loaded arms. Now, these extend when you pull the cord to engage and turn the motor when starting. Now, here's a little inside pro tip. Take very close notice of how that metal plate fits onto the cord spool, because that is critical to making that function when we get back to the reassembly. So keep that in mind, and then we'll cover that back till we get once we get to that stage of the reassembly. We are back after some little cleanup, a little anal on my part. I mean, honestly, it's just going to get dirty again, but good opportunity while you got it pulled apart to clean it out. Did I save myself some aggravation down the road? I don't know, but I just like working with items. Got them open, might as well grease them back up, get some fresh grease in there. At least that's what I decided to do. What you do is completely up to you. Back to this. All right, so where we're at now is, I've done something too, by the way. I made a mark, and I don't know that you'll be able to see it, but I'll point at it. I made a mark on this grill, and it corresponds to this mark that I made here. And the reason for making these marks is it's where it's where this little hook on this spring that's inside of here hooks to the end of this section. This is how these two fit together. And so what I've done, so when I'm ready to put this all back together, that I can save myself from the blind trying to seat that in. See, that sits in perfectly because I've got those two marked out. Just something to put in your bag of tricks if you so choose. All right, so now we're going to take this cord off. We're going to get a measurement and finally get to the new starter coil, or the starter rope, and get this project done. My gosh, look at this. Look how compacted. Wow. Wow, that is crazy. All right, so we are here. I am just going to cut this off. We're not really losing a whole lot. So for expediency, I guess I could have put a new blade in here. That would have helped. But we're almost through it. And I didn't cut a finger off. Success. It's the little things. All right, see you. Now let's pull that all through here. Now remember the order in which this disassembles, so you can remember how to put it back together. Yep, got that part through. Oh, it's starting to bunch up again. All right, let me this. I'm gonna get this. All right. Cool. So now this thing is, we're going to get a measurement on it. Do we really need a measurement on it? That's the question. You know, ideally, we can do one or two things. All right, here is the, let's put this thing together like this. Okay. Now, here is the hole. Okay. So, starting there, let's just see how tight this comes. And I'm going to get a revolution count. Let's do revolution count. So, here and here. So if I were to put the rope in here, and this should start getting tense. Ooh, actually it doesn't start getting any tension on that spring until right here. So this is actually where we'll start. All right. So 1, 2. Wow. Now keep downward pressure on this thing. There's 3, and this is, okay, so that's 3. Let's just see what we got here. Now let that how about that? Pretty slick. All right, so I'm real curious. So this cord has fed all the way back up to about here. Okay. See how many times this thing goes around. 1, 2, 3. I think that's what we're going to shoot for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this cord out. And let's make a comparison here real quick. Look at that beautiful new cord. All right. This cord is so messed up. Now, I don't know that I really have any true cord to measure this against. All right, I'm probably out of the picture. I'm sorry. Working way left there. I think I think 4 millimeters was the right call. Here's the other thing we need to do. Here, let's get that out of the way. We're going to have to pull. I want to reuse this puller, the start puller. So I can't push this. Ever tried to push a rope up a hill? Yeah, doesn't work real well. So when we were disassembling an old bike tire and the spokes. So I cut a bunch of spokes, and I have found these spoke wires to be exceedingly useful. They got a nice little 90-degree hook, plus they have a button, little head on the end there, which is great for catching stuff. So I'm going to see if I can't catch this knot down here and pull it out, because my needle nose, at least these needle nose, aren't long enough to get down there. So let me kind of fish around. Okay, I kind of got something. Let's see. Hey, 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 hey. All right. To the point. Winner. I just pushed it down. Hold it. Nope, that is not correct. I did not. All right, so what I'm going to do here is cut this off. And so far, all 10 digits. And good. All digits. Whoop, whoop. All right. Let's pull out some cord. Let's see what we can make happen here. Now let's be careful. I'm not knocking all my other stuff out of whack. That'd be my luck. All right, keep these things in order. Keep them out of the way. All right. Now, I'm not going to put the handle on until the very end, so I don't need to worry about fishing it through there just yet. All right, so this is already melted off, so I don't need to worry about that yet. At least I don't think I do. Just put a simple knot in the end here, and that'll do it. And just pull it tight. Okay. So we're going to go around this 3 times. 1. Now here's the good news. If I don't do this right, I've got plenty of cord to redo it if I don't do it right the first time. All right, I've got 2 loops, and here's my 3rd loop. And then I'm going to give myself a whole bunch of extra here to weed through there, and then put the handle on. Now let me think about this here. Make sure I'm doing this right. Okay, yes, I think the plan is solid. What I'm going to do, before I cut anything, I'm going to mark, just put a general mark on the rope here as far as where I expect the length that we'll need. Right there. Because, like a dodo, I can't actually put this on until now look where this is going. So as this thing pulls, it's tightening the spring in there, right? Get to the point, and then boom, you let go, and it pulls it right back in. Here's my number 1 mistake. I went ahead and put that in place. Now, that cannot be in place. This has to wind up. I have to wind it 3 rotations before I thread the rope in. So I'm looking for my marks. Here we go. Mark and mark. All right, we're in. Now, you know what I think I'm going to go ahead and do is, to keep this thing from flying off, I think I can do this. I don't see why not. Okay, this went there, and that went there. I think. Yeah, it actually, yeah. Okay, that's a really tight spring. Let's drop that screw in there. Not too tight. Okay, so now once we get this thing wound back, that's when I put the rope in and then let it coil. So let's count it 3, but once I get it, I'm going to have something to be able to hold it in place. I might be able to just put that like that, and that'll hold it. Yeah. Let's give it a shot. All right. There's 1. 2. 3. All right, so now I need to keep this thing from unwinding on me. So I'm going to put this right in place here. Doesn't need to be tight, just needs to keep this thing from, I don't want to damage anything. All right, so now let's take the end of our rope. This will be interesting to get it through, but maybe we'll be lucky. Maybe we'll figure this out. So I'm using the needle nose to turn the rope 90 degrees to get it to come through there. Now we're going to do the same thing we did a little bit ago, what we just undid. Put a nice little knot in the very end of this. Pull it tight. Let's take this out. Just take it slow there, cowboy. All right, so there's 1 revolution. 2 revolution. And there's 3 revolutions. So now it might be just a matter of that I put new grease in there and it's keeping it's a little bit tight. Okay. So there we are. So now I need to see how much, because I want this a little bit, I want this to be pulled up, if you will. I want this pulled up tight. So all right, so there's my mark. That's my cut mark. But I'm going to cut it up here so I can feed it through, and then I'll cut it there and put the knot in. If you follow that logic, I hope you can see this. I have no idea where my camera's pointed, but hopefully you can see this. And I'm just going to give myself some extra. I've got extra rope. I don't feel like I'm wasting a lot. I wonder if I can just use, and this way I don't have to worry about it getting all sucked back in there. Okay. Probably not great. Get the old box cutter back out. Clear my fingers. And there we go. All right, now the other thing what you can do there is you can put your vice grips back on that rope to keep it pulled out, so you got something to work with. And then reach in here, pull that, get that headed in the right direction. There we go. All right. So this is where we want to create the knot, so that's where we need to cut. Let's just hope this all is going to work out. All right. So make us a little knot. make us a little knot. There we go. Get that down on the end there. Not a whole lot of room in there, so we got to make it small so it fits back in the pole handle. Get that nice and tight. Pull this out. All right. And then, let me see if we can't just touch that off a bit. Keep your hand away from there. Touch it up. Nice. I think that should do it. This would have worked just as well. Maybe just not quite as quickly. Okay, let's see if this goes down in there. Probably still a little warm. Perfect fit. All right. Well, lo and behold, the issue here, and what is not happening, when I pull this cord, nothing is causing these things to splay out. It is these two wings here, they catch on the mower that has some ridges. I'll show you that in a sec. It catches on those, and that's actually what turns the motor, spins the flywheel, start the mower. So, this piece, I installed it incorrectly. So, one of the reasons that I think I've already mentioned this as to why I video a lot of this stuff is in case I do not get it put back and I get a curveball like I just did, I can take a look at that original footage and find out where the problem is. Now, it was a little bit difficult to identify because I wasn't activating this flywheel here to see it what caused this to go out. So, but I did play around with a little bit, and I think I've got the solution. I think I made a mistake in locating this aluminum piece or whatever this piece is. I was taking these little tabs and I was placing them in these slots here, thinking, it's a perfect fit. That's exactly where it goes. Wrong. These little tabs actually go on this side, not in here, but in here, which allows them to move. And you ask, well, why do those need to move? Well, hold on to your hats. I believe I'm going to demonstrate why that is necessary, that those tabs be outside of that area. Very clever, these engineers, with all their little tricks of the trade. Now, I'm not going to super tighten that, but okay. So what we're looking for is for these things to come out. So now that I've replaced that, look at there. That's exactly what is supposed to happen. Bada bing, bada boom. Now, let me crank this down a little bit. This was on there pretty tight. Okay. Wow. Okay, let's relocate back to the mower for one more attempt putting this pull rope housing back onto the mower. Well, okay. Here we are again. Now, these are the little catches that these little wings hit and turn. If this is a flywheel, that's exactly what it's turning. If it's the widget, then it turns the widget. Whatever it is, it turns it. All right, and these go on really tight. So I'm going to hand tighten them. I'm sure there's a torque on these, but I'm just going to have to guess. You're dealing with, I think that's aluminum that is screwing into, so be careful. You don't want to strip that out. And these are pretty good bolts. They're not soft. I don't anticipate that those are soft bolts, so they'll probably rip that aluminum right apart. All right, are we ready? Are we ready? Okay. Matter of fact, let me get this out of here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's the ticket. All right. Well, that's what we set out to do today.